Good morning, everyone. I'm really just genuinely happy that you guys are here with me today. I know there's probably 100 things you guys could be doing that could be pulling your attention right now. Emails, texts, kids, client, works, life, all that fun stuff. So the fact that you chose to pause and be here tells me something about you guys already. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my screen. And before we get started, in the chat, I put a link for you if you haven't already downloaded the workbook that's going to be going along with us today. You guys can go ahead and do that. So let me share my screen and we can get started. Okay, so my friends, this class is so important to me, not because it's just about goals, but because it's really about alignment, and those are two very different things. So today is not about just adding more pressure to your life. It's actually about creating the clarity around how you actually want to live it. So please say hi to the chat. Let me know how many goal classes you've taken so far this year, if any, and if it's zero, put zero. But I want us to have some interaction in the chat today. So I'm not going to call you guys out, but let's see what we got going on. Hi, Rochelle. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy Thursday. Okay, Roberto, zero, D, zero. Hi, D. Okay. So I hope you guys are able to take some fun things away from this class. I'm really excited for what we're going to go over. And if you're watching the replay later, I just want you to treat this live anyway. So grab a pen, slow down with me. And if you guys can't download that workbook that I put in the chat for some reason, just grab a scrap piece of paper. We're going to take some good notes. Okay. So before we talk about goals, ambitions, or plans for 2026, we truly need a pause because here's what I've learned both personally and professionally over the last few years. We don't fail at goals because we're lazy or unmotivated. They typically fail because we've never stopped long enough to understand what the last year actually felt like to live. So here's your first question. What is one word that best describes how the last year felt to live? Not what it looked like on paper, not what you accomplished, but how it felt. So you can go to workbook in the workbook page 2. Take 10 seconds. If you're comfortable, drop the word in the chat. So, things to think about. Did it feel busy? Did it feel draining? Was it reflective? Okay. So one word that best describes how the last year felt to actually live. So this is important because we are walking into 2026 carrying very different emotional weight, all of us. Okay. So now here, reactive life versus design life. So this slide matters more than you may think because most of us don't wake up one day and just decide to live reactively. Oh, Roberto says his was a lot of learning. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Okay. We don't wake up one day and just decide to live reactively. Reactively, we actually start drifting that way over time. So a reactive life, and I'm sure we can all relate in this industry, is when your time, energy, and your decisions are dictated by everything outside of you. For example, your clients, your deadlines, expectations, emergencies, other people's urgencies. It looks responsible and it does and can look productive. It can even look successful, but internally it can actually feel really different. So there was a season in my life that I'd love to share with you guys where my calendar was completely full. Meetings, calls, commitments, responsibilities, and all things looked right, right? On paper, it looked right. But internally, I mean, I just felt slightly behind in all the categories. I was answering messages while thinking about the next thing. I was present physically, but mentally somewhere else. My husband always jokes, says, where did you just go? I'm like, well, I'm thinking of the 30 things in my head, right? So every notification felt urgent. Every request felt like it needed my immediate attention. And what I didn't realize at the time, my friends, was this: I wasn't just responding to urgency, I was teaching people that my time was always available. So if you've ever felt that, I call it low grade anxiety of constantly checking your phone, can anyone relate? Put it in the chat. If you've ever ended the day exhausted but unsure what you actually accomplished, if you've ever felt like life was happening to you instead of with you, that's not a discipline issue. It's a motivation issue. Okay. So Beth goes, me, I get it. I see your phone blowing up all the time. So a designed life doesn't mean you just stop caring. Okay. So that's important. It doesn't mean you drop the responsibility. It means you decide ahead of time what gets protected, what gets prioritized, and what doesn't get immediate access to you. I'm going to say that again. We need to figure out what doesn't get immediate access to you. A designed life feels calmer, even when it's busy. It feels intentional, even when it's full. And for me personally, this has been years of practice of doing this. I lived in my people pleaser era for many years, and it was hard to retrain myself. But later through this class, I'm going to give you some talking points on how you can actually say these things to people without it sounding harsh and keep your low grade anxiety low. Okay. So if you feel like it's running you instead of the other way around, that doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means your life hasn't been designed yet. Okay. So, and that's the first place design actually starts, is with boundaries. I love talking about this because without boundaries, everything feels urgent and nothing feels intentional. Okay. So, one of the biggest myths we carry is this: if I protect my time, people will be upset. If I protect my time, people will be upset. But in reality, clarity is what builds the respect. So I made a very intentional decision about a year and a half ago that Saturdays were off limits. Unless absolutely necessary, of course, life happens. But when I did that, something interesting happened. And I did this because I felt I was missing in one of my big life categories, being fully present with my family. So I said, I'm not going to be working with clients and taking too many client calls on Saturdays. But what happened was interesting. My clients didn't leave me. My business has not suffered from it, my friends. People learn to adjust to it. Not because, I was worried about them thinking I was rigid. That wasn't it. But because I became clear. So most people don't struggle with boundaries because they don't care. They struggle because they don't know how to say it without sounding rude. This was a big one for me. Remember, I said I was in my people-pleasing era for far too long. It was because I was fearful of sounding rude, defensive, or over-explained. So, my favorite part, let me give you some language. You don't need long explanations to set any type of boundary in your life. And something I think we can all work on is learning to not justify it so much, right? We don't have to justify our worth. You need calm, clear sentences. So, an example of that is, hey, I'm not available on Saturdays, but I can connect with you first thing Monday morning. So, notice in that, there's no apology, there's no over explaining, just clarity. I'm not available on Saturdays, but I can connect first thing on Mondays. Here's another response boundary you guys can use. I'll need some time to think about that and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Again, no over explaining, no apology. That one sentence protects your energy and your credibility. Here's a way to reframe urgency. I understand this feels urgent. Let me look at my schedule and follow up. That's you not reacting in the moment to something because the more we start reacting, the more we stop caring about everything on our calendar. Okay. So, hey, I understand this feels urgent to you. Let me look at my schedule and I'll follow up. Okay. You're acknowledging the emotion without letting urgency control you. Because at the end of the day, people don't resent the boundaries, they resent inconsistency. People don't resent boundaries, they resent inconsistency. So, from all of that, take away this. When you are clear, people adapt. When you're inconsistent, they start to push back. Okay. If boundaries feel comfortable, I'm sorry, if boundaries feel uncomfortable for you, that doesn't mean you're doing them wrong. It means you're just not used to choosing yourself out loud. Right. And again, that was a big spin for me over the last year and a half, especially of just saying things out loud. And the more you say it, guess what? The more people agree with you. It's wild. So, and it gets easier with practice. So start doing this with your friends, with your family, your coworkers, and then with your clients, right? It really does become easier. Okay. If this resonates with any of you, type boundaries in the chat. I'm so curious because this was, oh, Rochelle goes boundaries. Yeah, this was a big one for me and something that I'm still working on every day. Okay. And here's the deeper reason boundaries matter. Because when you don't protect your time, you end up spending your energy everywhere and then wondering why you're exhausted. Roberta says, I have no boundaries. And you know what? That is something that is so charming about you, right? But as you get busier and busier, you're going to find yourself in corners where you're going to have to protect this time and the energy, right? And so start practicing these things now because there's going to be a time where they become very, very helpful for you, right? So when you don't protect your time, you end up spending that everywhere else. And then we wonder, gosh, why am I so tired all the time? All right. So we talk about time management constantly. So think of calendars, schedules, productivity hacks, but timing really isn't the real issue. The energy is. So two people can have, this is a big one, guys. Two people can have the same 24 hours, but experience them completely different based on how depleted or supported they feel. Okay. So there's a concept psychologists talk about called decision fatigue. The idea is simple but powerful. Every decision you make drains a small amount of mental and emotional energy, even good decisions. That's why his mom is always joking, like, we're so done, don't ask me one more question. Because we've been making decisions all day long, right? Decision fatigue. So when people say, I don't have time, what they usually mean is, I don't have the energy to make one more decision. And that matters. Because when energy is low, we don't choose very well. We default, we react, we procrastinate. That's also a big one for me. And we just kind of numb out. So there was a season in my life where I was forced to learn this in a really real way. Over the last year and a half, after multiple surgeries, long recovery periods, again, over just the last year and a half, none of which were planned or convenient, by the way, my body simply stopped cooperating with the idea of pushing through. But this was actually a beautiful thing. It was actually a big breakthrough for me because I'm built that way, right? You just push through, persevere, and get to the other side. But I was forced to stop cooperating with that idea because given my health situation, I couldn't borrow energy from tomorrow anymore. I couldn't override the exhaustion with willpower. And what I realized was this. I hadn't been managing my energy at all. I'd been spending it in advance. So that season it didn't teach me how to do more. It taught me how to notice where my energy was leaking and where it actually needed to be protected. So if you've ever hit a wall, physically, emotionally, or mentally, know that wasn't failure. That was your system signaling that something in your life design was unsustainable. So burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from spending energy on the wrong things for too long. I'm sure we've all been there, right? Whether it's in personal or your career profession, right? Spending energy in the wrong place for too long definitely causes this burnout. And that's why the next question I'm going to ask matters so much. Because before we can design a better year, we have to get honest about what's quietly draining us every single day. So, this question matters because you cannot design a future without understanding what's quietly depleting you. Okay. Energy drains don't just make you tired, they can cloud decision making, motivation, and clarity. So, I see this showing up as overcommitting, late night scrolling. Is this resonating with anyone? Avoiding hard conversations. That used to be a big one for me, not so much anymore. Saying yes when you actually mean no. Do we have any people pleasers here with us? Living in constant reaction mode. Okay. So if one thing immediately comes to mind, write it. No overthinking. Okay. What drains your energy the most right now? So up until till now, we've been naming what's been draining us, what's been pulling at our time and our energy, what's been shaping our days without consciously choosing it. And here's a mistake some of us make at this point. We try to fix all that with a goal. Okay, this is real talk. We try to fix it with a goal. But before we talk about what you want to do in 2026, we have to talk about something much more important, which is how do you want to feel? This is where most goal setting goes wrong, and I've watched a lot of them. I watched every type of goal setting video out there. We jump straight to outcomes, numbers, titles, career titles, milestones, deadlines, financial stability, but we rarely stop and ask ourselves a question underneath it all. How do I actually want my life to feel when I'm living it? How do I actually want my life to feel when I'm living it? Because here's the truth. We don't chase goals for the goals themselves. We chase them for the feeling we believe that they will give us. For example, we want a promotion because we think it will make us feel secure. We want the income because we think it will make us feel calm. We want the schedule because we think it will help us feel present. And we want the success because we think it will make us feel so, so proud. And when we skip this step and we don't name the feeling, we end up achieving things that look right on paper, but feel completely wrong in our body. So if you don't define the feeling first, you'll keep setting goals that require you to live in a way you don't actually want to live. That's how people end up successful, but exhausted, accomplished, but disconnected. That was a big one for me too. Busy, but unhappy. So, my friends, I want you to write down anywhere in your notebook 2 or 3 feelings you want more of in 2026. So, remember, not goals, not habits, not what you should want, just how you want your life to feel on an average Tuesday. So, I'm going to give you about 30 to 45 seconds of quiet. This might feel uncomfortable, but that's okay. I don't want you to rush it. So, again, anywhere on your notebook, 2 or 3 feelings you want to feel in 2026. And if you need some help, here's some words to consider: calm, present, grounded, confident, energized, clear, focused, peaceful, balanced, but some more steady, rested. I think some of us, our brains just need a rest, right? Aligned, proud, fulfilled, capable, resilient, in control, connected, joyful. We got Andrew. Hey, Andrew. We got Andrew put fulfilled. Heather wants to feel free, rested. Okay. So if you're stuck and you just don't know, borrow one of the words. Borrow it from someone else or from the Beth goes, all the above, please. Borrow a word if you don't have one. You're not committing to it forever. You're just noticing what the nervous system is craving right now. So when you're done, put a dot or a check mark next to the feeling that matters the most to you right now. So if you wrote more than one, I want you to check mark, circle, put a dot next to the one that matters the most right now. You don't have to share it. This one's for you. Okay, so now that you named the feeling, the next question becomes obvious. Does the life you're currently living actually support that feeling? So that's where the life wheel comes in. I do this every single year. And this is one of those things where I don't want you to think it's beneath you. Do the work. Every year I do this, I discover something because our life does prove data. So we don't want to skip this the step. It's in your workbook, I believe, page 4. Okay. It's so powerful because this life wheel doesn't lie. This life wheel shows you where alignment does or maybe doesn't exist in your life right now. So you don't fix a life by obsessing over just one category. You fix a life by understanding how everything connects. Okay, so don't judge it. Don't try to make it pretty. Just be honest. So here's how to fill it out. For each category, rate where you are right now, not where you want to be, right now. 1 is very low satisfaction, and 10 means you're fully satisfied and well supported in that category. So you're going to draw a line from left to right, wherever that category is, and choose between 1 and 10. Again, 10 being you feel fully supported and well supported versus 1 very low satisfaction. Stop at the number that honestly reflects your current experience. Because remember, you're not grading yourself, you're gathering information. And I'm going to share mine as well for you guys. Okay. So again, rate where you are, not where you wish you are. And as you're doing this, before I share mine, I want you to notice any emotional reactions you may have as you're doing this. Okay. No judgment, just information. So, a little vulnerable for me, but I'm going to share it anyways. So, as you can see here, and here's an example of how to draw the lines around it. So, when I look at my family category, that one's very, very high because I've been extremely intentional about it for the last couple of years. Remember, I was talking about my Saturdays are off limits, for example. I've been yearning for that presence over productivity with my family. And I feel I've accomplished that. I feel that's super high on my list right now. When I go over to health, well, that's a little complicated given my health scares over the last year and a half, right? So that healing has taught me patience, though. And now I want to take further steps on fixing my health, right? So I have that as a 6 because I know it can get better. My passion, right? Fun and recreation is really low for me right now. And when I did that, I go, why is it so low? And I had an epiphany. Well, dance has always been a part of me since I was a little girl. And I let that slip for over a decade, right? So when I look at something like this that's um, numbered so low, I start to think, okay, well, what goals can I put around that one category, right? Maybe it's as simple as me just doing Zumba once a week. I can start there. We don't have to start so big. Okay. So this will look different for everyone, but the pattern in it is what matters. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. All right. So I've been chit-chatting, so I'm going to be quiet for just a little bit. Take the next couple minutes. If you don't have it printed on the workbook that I provided, that's okay. Just draw a circle on a piece of paper and mark the numbers. Okay. But I want you guys to draw that really quick. And again, be honest. Okay. So let's pause and reflect a little bit on this. Okay. What areas surprised you the most? And if you want, you can put it in the chat. If not, keep it to yourself. But what areas surprised you the most? Which categories feel most important to you right now? And another reflection question for you is what does this wheel reveal about your current season? And of course, there's no right answer. I just want you to notice what truly stands out for you. Because awareness is the first step towards intentional change, right? So that takes us to seasons of life. This slide matters more than you may think or realize because not every season is meant for expansion. Some seasons are meant for healing, rebuilding, clarity. Some are simply for pure maintenance. And the problem is we try to judge every season by growth metrics. I've always been a numbers gal. Throw a nice Excel sheet in front of me, please, right? But I've learned to rewire my brain around this a little bit. Not everything we judge should be by growth metrics. We compare a quiet season to someone else's highlight reel. That's a big one. We measure ourselves against a version of life that isn't even ours. So listen, you're not behind, you are in a season. Okay? A season isn't something that we rush through, it's something to listen to. So if you had to name your current season, what would it be? Growth. Here's some ideas for you guys, right? And take notes in your workbook. If you had to name your current season, what would it be? Recovery, refinement, recalibration, expanding, healing, maintaining. Okay, whatever it is, it's allowed. Andrew says exploration. Okay. Rochelle says a combination of all four, building, healing, maintaining, expanding. Hey, Tyler, he says building. Okay. It's so important to identify the season first, my friends, because everything that comes after it that's not attached to that season, you can kind of put it lower in your priority list and get some of that pressure off of your shoulders. Okay. Okay. Habits and boundaries. So this one's important. We don't need to overhaul our lives in January. How many have been a part of this or seen it? You hit the ground running in January, you have all these new goals and manifestations, and you go so hard, but guess what? By mid-February, we start seeing it suffer. Have you ever been to a gym on January 2nd? You can barely walk in, and then by February and March, all the machines are available again. Okay. We don't become new people overnight. We do not become new people overnight. We test small shifts in our world. Most sustainable change doesn't come from the motivation. It comes from consistency and permission. I once read about how elite performers don't ever chase massive change. They commit to small experiences. They ask, what's one adjustment I can test that creates momentum? And Rochelle just shared something. She said, I'm starting small this year to conserve energy and focus on what is most important. I love that. That's so important, right? You got to have everything in alignment. Okay. So, what's one adjustment I can test without burning myself out? That mindset can remove pressure, it can create momentum. So when we try to change everything at once, we usually change nothing. I've experienced that. I just put too many goals down and didn't end up getting to anything. Or have you ever filled up a to-do list or your task list for the day and it's staring at you and you're so overwhelmed, you end up just getting stuck? Okay. It's the same with this. So that mindset removes the pressure and creates a momentum. Okay. Small habits are easier to keep. And then with that, boundaries will be easier to honor. And confidence builds through that follow through. So turn to page 6 in your workbook, and I want you guys to write this down. And if you want, please share in the chat. What is one habit you're going to release in 2026? Is it late night scrolling? Is it not reading? Whatever it is, what's one habit you want to release? What's one habit you want to reintroduce? What's one habit you want to reintroduce? And what's one small action that you can actually take in the next 7 days? And it could be maybe the habit you want to release is stop hitting the dang snooze button every morning. And you want to reintroduce a nice, soft, calm morning routine. You can do that for the next 7 days. D says procrastination. It's a big one for me. Some of us like to work with the fire underneath us, but boy, can that drain our energy. So I'm not asking you guys to write down 10 things. It's not a perfect plan, just one step that you are actually willing to keep. Because progress doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what actually fits in your life. Okay. Now, this slide is about a subtle but powerful shift. Most people set goals by asking, what do I want to achieve? But clarity comes faster when we ask a different question. Who do I want to become? Who do I want to become? Because outcome changes, circumstances change, but identity is what guides your decisions when things don't go as planned. Jenny, when we were talking about habit shifts, she says the snooze button definitely. I did that like 3 times today, girl. I love it. I feel that. Okay. Identity is what guides your decisions when things don't go as planned. So when you lead with identity, your choices get simpler. You don't ask, should I do this? You start asking, is this aligned with the kind of person I'm becoming or I want to become? So turn to page 6 in your workbook and complete that sentence. In 2026, I am becoming the kind of person who blank. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to write that down, and I would love to see your answers in the chat on this one. I think this one's so special and unique for all of us. In 2026, I'm becoming the kind of person who sets boundaries for my time and energy. I'm becoming the kind of person who says yes more to opportunity. I'm becoming the kind of person in 2026 who's going to flourish my brain by reading 20 books this year. In 2026, I'm becoming the kind of person who what? I'd love to hear you guys' responses because I think this one is so important. Again, when you start with identity, everything else follows. So don't overthink it. It's not about perfection. It's literally about direction. Because once you're clear on how you want to feel and who are you becoming, guess what? The actions and the boundaries we talk about start making a lot more sense. Okay. So let's pause here for a moment. Before we talk about goals, we have to talk about how we want the life to feel, okay? Because goals are strategies, feelings are the destination. So you can see a few words here on the screen: calm, present, energize, grounded, free. Notice none of these are achievements, but every one of them changes how your day actually can and will feel. So on page 6, write down 2 or 3 feelings you want more of this year. If you're stuck, as always, just borrow a word. You don't have to be committed to it forever. And keep those feelings in mind because the next question is simple but so important, my friends. Does the life you're living right now actually support the way that you want to feel? Does the life you're living right now actually support the life you truly do want to feel this next year? And that's where that life wheel comes into play. So I really hope you guys took the time to do that one because it is such a game changer in my opinion. Okay. So you don't need to have everything figured out today. None of us do. But I wanted you to leave with some type of awareness, and even if it's just one category in your life. Maybe you're walking away with just one intention or one clear next step. Because we are all allowed to design a life that supports ourselves, not just what looks good to others. So guys, thank you so much for trusting me with these 40 minutes. I definitely don't take that lightly. If I stirred something in you, don't rush past it. Just please sit with it. Dee says the wheel is eye-opening. It truly is, Dee. I've been doing this one for the last, I think it's been 4 years that I've done this life wheel, and it is eye-opening every single year. So again, don't rush past all this stuff. Sit with it. Go over this workbook many times. And if I have any advice from this moment moving forward, open that book at least once a month. It's so easy to hit the ground running come January. I don't want the fire to start slowing down for you in just a few weeks. So I'm really glad you're here. If you guys have any insight, question, commentary, please put in the chat. I appreciate you guys so much. And I want y'all to kick 2026 in the butt. This is all of our year. So I'm manifesting nothing but success and prosperity for all of you. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you guys soon.